The other big story from this week, Jacob, we're going to bring you on this on this first. Saints placing Director of Recruitment Joe Shields on leave after this approach from Chelsea. Now, I think it's fair to say it took Southampton by surprise, because it certainly took us by surprise. But it looks like he might be off.
Yeah, so Wednesday was my first day off in about 3 weeks. I was having a really good day, enjoyable, relaxing, and then I get this text, and it just says JS to Chelsea, and I just thought, who's JS? And then it all made sense. And
Jack Stevens.
he's done well for himself. And then it all broke out, and then you dig a little bit deeper, and you realise that this is not an unusual situation. There's a few strange things going on, and it's football at the end of the day, isn't it? So although Chelsea technically haven't done anything wrong because they can approach staff, they haven't got the same type of contracts as manager or players. They were still blindsided, and I think there's been difficulties throughout the summer in terms of leaking, and obviously Joe Shields coming out and going to Chelsea is you've got your answer there. So it's difficult.
And Ralph was pretty dismissive this week, wasn't he? I don't know if that was whether he'd been sort of teed up to be like that, but he was kind of like playing it down.
Yeah. I think the club are they've been quite bold in their response. I think they're basically saying, you don't want to be here anymore, so you go away. Basically, we'll put you on garden leave, unless Chelsea want to stump up a substantial amount of cash, and you can have them straight away. But I think even at Chelsea, he's not going to be the main man. He's not going to have the autonomy he's had it here. So all those reports that saying that Joe Shields is not happy with Ralph or the recruitment are absolute nonsense, because he's basically going to be an advisor to Todd Boehly. So Todd Boehly's intent on steering the ship however he likes. So he's been given.
Yeah, he seems very hands-on, doesn't he? Which can only end well. Obviously, I mean that's going to be an absolute mess in about 18 months' time.
Yeah, he's going to have a nice rise in his salary, and Joe Shields is not allowed anywhere near Staplewood, so he's kind of in limbo as well.
That's the thing, though, Glenn, isn't it? And Jacob makes a good point there. It's not a player contract, and as annoying as it is, it's just a career choice that someone's made. Like any of us getting offered 2 or 3 times our salary and going, yeah, actually, do you know what? Quite fancy that.
Yeah, you leaving the podcast then, Martin? Is that what you're saying?
This gun for hire.
Yeah. Man leaves job for higher salary. Yeah, big deal.
It just sticks a bit, doesn't it?
It does a little bit. But I've seen a lot of people sort of bashing the club for it, which I believe is ridiculous. I think the only thing you can level at the club is that they've taken on someone who obviously has a very questionable sense of professionalism in his job. Leaking stuff all over the place. I was surprised when I was reading about when Juan Larios signed. I mean, this is a kid that most people had never heard of, and it was all over every football gossip website all over the place before we signed him. So, and the bit that really bothers me is Chelsea putting in a bid for Romeo Lavia straight after the game. And it just makes me think, how long has this guy actually been working for Chelsea all the time? Even when he was our employee, what's he been up to? It kind of makes me sort of question some of that. But the bottom line is anyone who writes on his Instagram account, hypo, don't get sacked soon, lol. I just think, can you imagine anyone else in that sort of position writing something like that on an Instagram account? It just so good riddance, basically. Fans of other clubs seem to think that he was sort of very instrumental in every signing that we brought in, and Jacob can probably clarify exactly which ones he was involved in. But this is why I don't think it's not like he's been instrumental in every single one.
Yeah, can I just pick up on that? There was a few reports from the Chelsea side that, and they're crediting him with a lot of the signings. And although he's done a really good job, I think it's important to say that, Bella-Kotchap, Southampton been talking to him since March, February time. And, Ralph's been talking to him. And he was the one that's really instrumental. Bella-Kotchap was very impressed by Ralph Arsenetal back then. No, I'm still now. You can clarify. Romeo Lavia, of course, he knows him well. Romeo Lavia, he knows him well, stuff like that. But Saints were already aware of Romeo Lavia. They had already reached out. It was already in motion before Joe Shields came. So, of course, he knows him, but it's not solely his deal. Joe Aribo, he was really influential in, because he's very good friends with Joe Aribo's agent, Amika Abassi. They grew up in South London together, a Kinetic Academy. got real deep ties there. Influential in Maitland-Niles, he was the one that organised it, and Juan Laris and Samuel Doozy. But in terms of the key players that everyone's going to harp onto about, and so they should, and Bella-Kotchap and Lavia, they were already set in motion, and Southampton did a really good job under Martin Glover to initiate those talks.
And that's, I guess, the thing, Steve. It's just the name that you're a bit angry this week because there's a lot of anger flying around, as you can imagine, at the moment. But in a few weeks' time, a couple of months' time, it's a name that we forget all about and go, oh yeah, he was there for a bit. And when we move on, and we've had recruitment directors that have done a good job, moved on, and we've replaced them with someone that does equally a good job.
Yeah, I mean, I think that sort of role, I think, is one of those roles where a lot of people outside the game don't really know fully what they to what level they're involved in, and I kind of accept that I'm relatively clueless on that as well. So you don't really know the impact that these guys have on a football club. I mean, everyone said it was an absolute disaster when we lost Paul Mitchell, and yet the world kept turning. We were fine when he left because whoever, I can't even remember who it was that replaced him. That's how much that situation kind of played out well for us. But I mean, it's just bad timing, isn't it? Given the sort of mood around the place at the moment, and all it does is it gives ammunition for people who want to use it for that means, really. I mean, it's not Ralph's fault, is it? Clearly. This guy's been offered a. I mean, we presumably gave him a massive pay rise based on what he was on at City as their head of youth recruitment, to now come and do first team for a Premier League club, and Chelsea are now going to give him a huge pay rise again. So yeah, I mean, man leaves high paid job for even higher paid job.
It was Ross Wilson, wasn't it, who came in?
Of course, yeah.
I think, yeah.
Teflon Ross, I remember.
Daniel's watching in Toronto, by the way. I forgot to mention that earlier on. But yeah, it's not going particularly well, I don't think, for him at Rangers at the moment. But you're absolutely right. We'll move on. And the only thing we needed him to do in the summer really was bring in a striker. And of course, we didn't recruit one. So you can look back at it and go, well, what actually did he do? So we'll be all right.
He's going to have some fun at Chelsea because it's a bit of a harder sell to a young player, isn't it?
Well, there's no first team pathway, is there?
No, come and play for Chelsea. You'll be shipped off to Vitesse Arnhem on loan for a year and a half. Then you maybe half a season in the Championship, and then maybe you'll get 5 minutes at the end of Carabao Cup game. Yeah, it's not like, look at Tino Livramento, who went straight into the team. Look at Romeo Lavia, who went straight into the team. So he's got his work out, and also City are going to be much less. If he uses his City contact book, they're going to be much less likely to sell to Chelsea because they're certainly closer to being a direct rival than we are
at the moment.
Oh yeah, give it time.
It's going to be a big week, certainly a big week ahead.